Hey guys, welcome back to Follow Me 11B. Discussions on current events, macroeconomics, and freedom and liberty from a veteran's perspective. Today I wanted to discuss the looming worldwide food shortage that you may have been hearing about over the last number of months. So to start things off, let's dive into an article I came across in NPR. And this is an Associated Press article as published on the NPR website. It is entitled, "Record Number of People Worldwide Are Moving Towards Starvation, UN Warns." It's by Emilio Mornati. And let's just get into it, blah, blah, blah. Food and fertilizer prices sparked by the war in Ukraine is threatening to push countries around the world into famine, bringing global destabilization, starvation, and mass migration on an unprecedented scale, a top UN official warned Wednesday. David Beasley, head of the UN World Food Program, said its latest analysis shows that a record 345 million acutely hungry people are marching to the brink of starvation, a 25% increase from the 276 million at the start of 2022. Before Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th, the number stood at 135 million before the CV-19 pandemic in early 2020. Here's a quote. "There's a real danger it will climb even higher in the months ahead," he said. Even more worrying is that when this group is broken down, a staggering 50 million people in 45 countries are just one step away from famine, unquote. Beasley spoke at a high-level UN meeting for the release of the latest report on global hunger by the World Food Program and 4 other UN agencies that paints a grim picture. The report, "The State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World," says world hunger rose in 2021, with around 2.3 billion people facing moderate or severe difficulty obtaining enough to eat. The number facing severe food insecurity increased to about 924 million. The prevalence of undernourishment, that's when food consumption is insufficient to maintain an active and healthy life, is used to measure hunger, and it continued to rise in 2021. The report estimates that between 702 million and 828 million people faced hunger last year. Beasley said in live virtual comments that the impact of the conflict in Ukraine, the breadbasket of the world, on global food availability and food security means that number of chronically hungry people in the world is likely already much higher than the 828 million. Before the war, Ukraine and Russia together, this is an interesting stat. Before the war, Ukraine and Russia together accounted for almost a third of the world's wheat and barley exports, and half of its sunflower oil. Russia and its ally Belarus, meanwhile, are the world's number 2 and number 3 producers of potash, a key ingredient of fertilizer. Note, I'm going to do another video soon on the plight of farmers worldwide having to do with fertilizer. But I digress. Back to the article. Beasley called for an urgent political solution that would allow Ukrainian wheat and grain to re-enter global markets. He also urged substantial new funding for humanitarian groups to deal with the skyrocketing levels of hunger. So, when I saw that, immediately I thought, okay, more funding for humanitarian groups, likely mostly from governments, which would likely lead to more inflation, which would likely lead to more food insecurity, shall we say. But getting back to the article, governments to resist protectionism and keep trade flowing, and investments to help the poorest countries protect themselves against hunger and other shocks. If we had successfully threaded this needle in the past, the war in Ukraine wouldn't be having such a disastrous global impact today, Beasley said. Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has been trying to put together a package that would enable Ukraine to resume exporting wheat and other commodities and Russia to ship grain and fertilizer to world markets. UN spokesperson Stephanie Dujarric said Wednesday that discussions are continuing. So certainly the UN and, well, NATO and the NATO countries and the West did not think 3 or 4 steps ahead. They were playing checkers, and they were not playing on a 3-dimensional chessboard when they didn't think through some of the side effects, shall we say, of the Ukrainian war and the embargo and the sanctions put on Russia and so forth. So Russia, obviously, as they were saying, is one of the big producers of potash and fertilizer ingredients and so forth. Belarus as well. Well, it's leading to problems in the food chain. Russia will certainly use this as a carrot to hold in front of the UN, likely the World Food Program, the UN Food and Agricultural Organization, the UN Children's Fund, the World Health Organization, International Fund for Agricultural Development. I mean, the list goes on. They're going to use that as a carrot in front of those organizations that have got some clout, particularly in Europe. And my guess, if I had to guess, is that they're going to use their clout to try to influence the NATO countries to release some of the sanctions so that they can get some of these ingredients to the farmers around the world so they can continue the food creation process, or at least begin it with the fertilizer. But I digress. Let's go to one other article I came across. This one is from Taste of Home, and it is by Amrita Thakkar, Thakkar. It's from July 13th, 2022, and it is entitled 10 Items You Might Not Find in Your Grocery Store and Why. So we'll just go through some of the highlights here. It looks like food shortages have continued into 2022. After some signs of a slow and cautious return to pre-pandemic normalcy last year, 2022 is looking remarkably like fall 2020. And that means supply issues at grocery stores. This time the food shortages are scattered throughout the store, so shoppers hoping to get their hands on specific products may find that it's not that easy right now. All right, so let's get into, still there are specific aisles feeling the strain right now. Here are some products to look for during your next grocery run. So here's some specific things. What are stores running short on? Chickpeas. Okay, you might think, okay, who cares? Chickpeas. Like me. However, if you like your hummus, you might see a drop in the supply of chickpeas soon. Russian invasion of Ukraine resulted in a drop of production, as both countries are key suppliers of chickpeas for the world. Wheat. Here's number 2, wheat. Ukraine is one of the main suppliers of wheat in the world, and its invasion by Russia disrupted the supply chain entirely, according to Bloomberg. Coupled with a ban on exports by India, which was activated to protect its food security, we're seeing rising prices when it comes to wheat, along with a possible shortage. And that could lead to all kinds of problems. Let's see here, breads. So, I mean, the list goes on, but bread's a kind of a necessary and big item at most in most kitchens around the world. Let's move on to number 3, sugar. According to Reuters, Brazil recently diverted more sugarcane to ethanol production rather than sugar due to high energy prices, so they can make a little bit more money. Ethanol, aka alcohol, is used for a variety of products, and this could mean a drop in sugar supply, leading to increased prices and possible shortages. You may be seeing less of this fruit. Avocados, number 4. You may be seeing less of this fruit. Yes, avocado is a fruit. On shelves. The American government suspended imports of Mexican avocados earlier this year after a U.S. plant safety inspector based in Mexico received a threat. So, moving on. Very important. Paper goods, number 5. This is an item that we've seen at the top of the shortage lists for the last 2 years. Toilet paper. According to Bloomberg, pulp supplies have been affected yet again by the Russian invasion of Ukraine, causing shortages of supply from Europe. This could result in a shortage of toilet paper, or at the very least, price spikes. Other paper goods like paper towels and tissues might also be affected. This is interesting. Number 6, canned goods. With people stocking up on canned goods in 2020 and 2021, manufacturers continue to face an aluminum shortage. And it's continued throughout the pandemic and reduced the supply of products like tomato paste, canned vegetables, and soda. Number 7, eggs and meat. In spring 2021, news of a chicken shortage resulted in fast food chains cutting back on chicken items. The shortage then moved all over to grocery stores in the fall. Let's see here. Pet food is number 8. The continuing shortage of aluminum and shipping issues have led to shortages in dog and cat food across the country. Not exactly sure why that would be. I mean, on the inside of the bag, maybe there's some kind of like metal stuff similar to like when you buy a bag of potato chips and you open it, and on the inside there is like a metal inside coating, I guess, a metal coating on the inside, probably keep it fresh. I imagine that's the same situation for pet food. But let's see, with several local papers reporting bare shelves at pet stores. According to Fox Business, even big retailers like Target and Amazon are facing shortages of pet food. Number 9, as we've reported in a previous video, baby formula. Wall Street Journal broke the news of a baby formula shortage earlier this year, with brands like Enfamil, Similac, and Gerber becoming harder to find. And finally, number 10, last but certainly not least, liquor, specifically champagne, wine, and beer. According to wine enthusiasts, demand dropped for champagne in 2020, then rose again in 2021. This created a problem. The trade organization, lower, okay, who cares about that? Supply chain issues have compounded the problem. Meanwhile, the shortage of aluminum cans and increasing price of raw ingredients have led to shortages and higher prices for your favorite craft brew. So this trend seemed to accelerate in 2022. A glass shortage has also led to soaring wine prices and talk of a shortage. So, in short, stock up now would be my advice. May long term make the problem extend in the duration, just because of panic buying, shall we say. But hey, if you need stuff, get it now while you can. If you're definitely going to use it, get it now. Get 3 or 4 of them. If you need 1 or 2, get 3 or 4. Why not? Get it now while you can get it, and that would be my advice. That's what I'm doing. But yep, there's definitely going to be an impact. You've probably seen it already. We posted it all over my Facebook page for the last year or so. I've taken pictures of barren shelves at grocery stores and Target, etc., inflated prices, etc. But you are going to see it continue, and you're likely going to see it accelerate in the weeks and months ahead. So again, my advice, buy stuff now that you need, and you'll have it to use tomorrow. Better to have too much than not enough, in my opinion. So that's all for now. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Please post your comments below. And don't forget, we are growing. We are Follow Me 11B on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Gettr. And we are at The Real Follow Me 11B on Rumble and Instagram. And we will see you all on the next video.